Hello, everybody. What a week it has been. Welcome to this week. It is great to be here once again. And I can see we've already got people starting to show up. That's pretty awesome. All right. Right off the top, we got Crypto Larvae. Here we go. Made it for the live instead of having to watch later. Nothing wrong with that. Go Bills Go from the Hockey Nut. I don't know. Maybe I got my sports wrong, but I think the Bills are football, but that's all right, Hockey Nut. And of course, we got Brian McGrath saying good morning to everyone. So it's great that you guys are here, and we'll have other people, of course, piling in as we move along. We got our regular news, and we got something a little bit special for you as well this episode. Here we go. Bleak 784. Hello, Bleak. Fantastic to see you. All right. So I said we have something a little bit special today. I asked Jill to give a quick introduction to herself, so that way there I could play that for you all, and I have that. I have that right here. We're going to play that here in a moment. I'm going to wait a couple minutes because I just want to give people time to come in before we actually play Jill's video. But we do have that, and that is coming up for you guys today. So hopefully you guys are all having a great day. We will, before we get to Jill's video, we will touch on our on the top story. The top story, of course, has been the market. It has been a green beginning to the new year, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I've got some statistics for you on how green it has been. So, the Toronto Stock Exchange, the TSX, so far, year to date, is up 4.5%. The NASDAQ is up, and they're the big winners. They were up 5.85%, so that's not too shabby. S&P 500 up 4.16%. And if you guys remember, last week I've been talking about gold. Well, gold year to date is up 5.38%. Now, just to put this into perspective, not everybody has done well. Our good old buddy Elon Musk and Tesla, well, yeah, he was down negative 0.6% to start the year. So that's always kind of fun. Well, maybe not if you're invested in Tesla. All right, so we got a couple more people. Jill's saying hi here as well, but she's going to say hi in video form here in a moment. We've got Paul in the house. Happy Sunday, everybody. And Vic has made it. Hi, Vic. So glad to see you made it. And Crypto Larvae says, corrections are coming. Mr. Powell said he's raising rates and will not be pivoting anytime soon. Yes, we're going to talk about Mr. Powell here in a bit, but yeah, there could be some interesting days ahead for sure. Vic says, why TSL now yielding 24%? And that there is the purpose yield Tesla stock. So they're doing, you've got some good yields on that, that's for sure. Muggsy's in the house and says hello all, and of course howdy folks once again from Hockey Nut. Before I play this video for Jill, I just want you guys to, if you haven't done it already, smash that like button, turn it blue, hit it as hard as you can. Well, don't break your computer, but hit it hard over your phone. I think it's really interesting. I'm curious to know how many of you guys are watching this on a phone or a computer or a tablet, because that's it blows my mind when I look at my statistics and I see how many people are watching on their phones. I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of people doing that. So that is cool. We got Tim in the house. Hello, Tim. All right. Without any further ado, we got a few people in here. Anybody who misses Jill's little intro video, they can watch it on the replay. So those of you on the replay, hey, love you guys. Keep it up. All right, let's get to this right now. I'm going to bring this up and let me know if you guys can't hear this. I think I troubleshot it to death. I think it should be working. So let's take a listen to Jill.
Hello everyone, I'm Jill. This is just a brief introduction to me. And so first, why the sunglasses? It's not to look cool. It's just because I'm have low vision, visually impaired, and I have light sensitivity. So that's why I wear sunglasses. So moving on, it's just an introduction of who I am. You're probably like, who are you? Why are you doing this? So that's what this is about. So I'm Jill. I'm business partner of Candace. And so yeah, for me, I don't have a finance background. I did my bachelor's degree in communications and political science. I did do a minor in economics because I love economics. I would have done an actual degree in it, but the graphing is a slight doing the charts and the graphing is a little bit challenging, and as well as the math were a little bit challenging for me. So I stuck to the ones that I could do, and I really do love economics though, but personal finance is not my strong suit. And so I thought that doing this series as an introduction series for people maybe like me who are a little bit of a shopaholic or who aren't the best with their finances but definitely want to improve. So that's one of my big goals this year, is to really become more financially literate and financially intelligent, improve my financial health, so like a financial diet. So one of the things for me, those are the big goals, is to improve my financial IQ. And mostly this is because I have this sort of dread towards money and personal finance. I've never been very good at it, and I think that's just, I've never taken the time to learn and sort of dig down and try and actually improve it. And one way for that for me is going to be to either make it like a gamification, so make challenges and set actual goals that are realistic and actually try to be accountable. So one of the things about the series is to hold myself accountable, so be able to share my experiences with the community, with other people out there. I would love to get feedback from other people as well. That's definitely part of the journey for me. So I am not an expert by any means, and that's kind of the point here, is that I'm sort of this the hands-on practical, I guess. I'm not here to really teach people, but I do really love to research, and so that's where I'm coming from. I'm taking research from Candace and outside of that, and outside of just YouTube, and obviously there's so many resources for personal finance out there. So for me, it's about taking that research as much as possible, analyzing it, and then putting it into practice, and sort of my experiences with that. So I wanted to make a little bit more personal, something that maybe people can relate to. You know, there's still some things I think that people can always learn. There's always improvements that we can always make. But for me, it's definitely more the beginning of my financial journey. So I'm excited about it, to start out and see where it goes. And yeah, if you have any ideas or suggestions, please let me know. I'm really excited to get feedback from it, and we'll see where it goes. All right, well, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.
Okay, there we go. That was different. That was definitely awesome. And it's a little bit different from what we normally do. So the whole idea with FIQ is that, at least this is the way I see it. I see it as that I've been doing this for a while. So sometimes I just start to assume that people know things. And this is what's fantastic about bringing Jill in to do this series, is she's starting from scratch. So she doesn't have all of that know-how that sometimes I forget, new people perhaps don't have. So that's going to be really important. And as I've said, I believe that we've got a bear market. We've got a bull market that's going to start probably in the fall. If I'm right about that, there's going to be a lot of new people popping in who are going to be looking for some of that absolute beginner basic stuff that Jill's going to bring through this series. So I'm really excited, and I'm looking forward to this. And she said, hopefully she'll have her first video by Friday. No time expectations. Like, I'm not putting her on a schedule, because I would rather, where she's brand new, I'd rather just, she take whatever time she needs to get these out. It's not going to affect any of my stuff. My stuff going to be coming out just as quickly and on the same schedule as normal. All right. Let's see who we missed here while we were in there. So, I'm just going to come right back here to Dimitri. So Dimitri from Mountain of Inspiration has dropped in. Hello, Dimitri. Fantastic seeing you here. I love Dimitri. He has a nice little channel, some very good inspirational stuff. So if you're looking for inspiration, head on over, check him out. And we got, of course, Mr. Red Taco in the house. One of my favorites as well. Always love to see Mr. Red Taco, and just people saying that they can hear the video, which is great. Brian saying hello to Jill. Nice to meet you, and Mr. Well, I was going to say Mr. Well, I guess you would call him Mr. Redbeard. Red Beard's World in the house. Gonna love Red Beard too. And Jill says my first video will be on taking a financial inventory when hopefully this Friday. We'll have to see how that goes. And Vic says maybe you can some of us regular folk on your show and you could be YouTube stars for a few minutes. If you want to be a YouTube star for a few minutes, talk to me. I'll bring you on. I'm sure we can work something out for you. Tim says, well done, Jill. And Vic says, we need a Jaguar market like the game last night. Crazy come from behind win. And what is Jill's channel's name? Jill is going to be doing a piece on this channel, Redbeard. So kind of like, I think one of the visions I had is when eventually this channel gets really, really big, is having more than one person on it. So it would be Mountain Finance, but then there would be, I'd be the driving force behind it, and maybe a couple people down the road who are also doing videos, so that there's kind of like content every day and a whole bunch of different stuff, because I think it can grow into something bigger. That's at least kind of going way out there, but I like to dream big, and that way there, if you dream big and you don't quite make it, you're still in a really great place. That's the way I look at it. So the name is Bond, Jill Bond. Yes, that is her name. And okay, so oh sweet, sorry, I missed the beginning. That's all right. Okay. It's fantastic. All right, we're already off. You guys are great. I love this group in here. Let's move to our next news story, which is about the recession. So this week, two different banks in the U.S., and we're talking about the Bank of America and J.P. Morgan, both have come out and said they're expecting a recession this year. Although the good news is that they don't think it's going to be a bad recession. They're actually both calling a mild recession for 2023. So that's going to be really interesting to see. And now here's another interesting thing. Normally in a recession, the people who suffer the most are your blue collar workers, because that's where most of the layoffs will hit. This time around, though, because of the labor shortage, that is not going to be the sector that's going to be hit. Your blue collar workers are looking to be okay in the recession. It's actually the white collar workers who are probably going to get hit the hardest. So if you guys are white collar, okay, hopefully it's not you. If you're a blue collar, maybe sigh a little bit of relief, because you probably are going to be okay, which would be great. Vic says the market is closed. Will AKN? Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. I don't think Algonquin's going to go down to $5 per se. With them cutting their dividend, with them selling off some of their assets, with them looking to purchase more regulatory assets. So these are utilities that are under regulation in the U.S. The reason they're doing all of this is to try to keep that stability, to try to knock out the volatility that they currently have on the market. Because normally when you have a lot of regulated utility within your portfolio, that tends to be almost a protection against a bear market, but they're having a little bit more difficulty. So yeah, they do have some difficulty. Will they get to $5? I don't think they will. They could, but I don't think they will. So tech. Perfect. I'm not sure what that is in reference to. Oh, this one here. Oh yeah, so I was actually ripping her about that. I was saying those sunglasses are big. You should get some really cool ones, like maybe some John Lennon. Well, maybe not John Lennon ones, because you want to protect the eyes from light. But the sky's the limit, I guess, when it comes to sunglasses. So that's kind of interesting. So that's the recession. Now, I did want to talk about another thing that has undergone a little bit of inflation, and that has been eggs. So there's some interesting stories going on about eggs this week. One of the big things is that the Ontario farmers, they typically set the price for about 40% of the eggs in Canada, and they want to drop the price of eggs. They're actually looking at dropping the price by 14 cents a dozen, which is fantastic. I'm thinking, okay, great. That's great, because in the last year, the price of eggs has gone up 16.7%. So that's from November to November, November 22 and November 21. That's where we're comparing that information from. But here's the downside to this. There is a group, they're called Burnbrae Farms. And Burnbrae Farms, they are basically Canada's largest egg processor. So a lot of times they buy the eggs from the farmers, process them, and get them out to the grocery store. Well, they don't care that the Ontario farmers are lowering their price. They're raising theirs by 10 cents a dozen. So it's kind of an interesting thing, even though you would think that the savings of that 14-cent farmer price would be passed on to us. It's apparently not going to do that. So that's going to be very interesting to see what happens and see if maybe some public pressure gets on that. Now, one other little odd egg story as well. So over in Japan, they're looking at an egg shortage. And the reason for that is they've had to cull about 10 million chickens due to an avian flu outbreak. So eggs are definitely going up in Japan, and apparently they're going to be going up here, even though they should be going down. Holy banana bread. All right. So that's kind of interesting thing. Oh, and they're talking about the FANG stocks. That's what you guys are talking about. Okay. Which would be kind of interesting. Now we talked last week. We talked last week about doing that cage battle, and I did that cage battle for you guys. If I were to ever do like a 6-company cage battle, and I'm not going to do it right away, but if I ever did, I would probably have to do that. I was trying to think, how could I do a 6-company? Because it would be a long video. So what I would probably do is, if you guys want me to do a 6-company, like whether it be the 6 FANGs or whether it be the big 6 Canadian banks, I can look at doing that as a 2-part battle. So the way I would do that is I would release part 1 and then part 2, 2 weeks in a row. And then, of course, for people coming in after the fact, I would then probably take the both parts, stick them together, and re-release it again as one giant part at the same time. So you'd have the 2 different parts, and then down the road, probably, maybe a week or so later, I would just release the full version. So that's kind of how I would do it for if we were to do something like that. And that's up to you guys. I mean, if that's something you guys want, we would certainly, I would certainly do it because I think it would be kind of neat to do that. All right. Brian says, in a better world, eggs go down and TELUS goes up. Yeah, there we go. And I do have a story on, not on TELUS, but on Bell, but we'll get to that in a moment. Before we do, I want to talk a tiny bit about natural gas. So Japan this week, they paid a visit to Canada. And the reason they're doing it is they're basically shopping around. They're trying to find a reliable natural gas supplier because we got lots of it. And Trudeau, of course, he said that, yeah, Canada would love to be in that role, provided they keep the idea of decarbonization efforts into account. I'm like, holy banana bread. This is an opportunity to get a lot of money. And yes, decarbonization is important. And there's actually a company in Switzerland. What was their name? Climate or something like that. It's an interesting company, but they have actually successfully pulled carbon out of the air to put into carbon capture. Carbon capture is where you basically put the carbon into the ground. They've got a lot of that going on and a lot of research of that going on. Like in Alberta, there's a company called Alberta Innovates, and they're basically, think of them almost as like a think tank. They fund a whole bunch of research on carbon capture and just different oil technologies and oil sands. And that's right up their alley. And that's one of those things that we're starting to look for. Now, keep in mind, you get a company like this company over in Switzerland. It's either Switzerland or Sweden. I'm not entirely 100% sure. A company like this Climate company, a lot of companies will basically say, okay, we'll give you money because of the way carbon credits work. So they might actually be able to use that to get a little bit more funding. But that's a really fantastic thing. If they can start pulling carbon directly out of the air, that's great. And going back, of course, to our story, this goes just to show that we're kind of at that point that I don't think with a looming recession that you want to be sort of saying no to free money, because we have a lot of natural gas, and the reality is we are not shipping as much as we could, and we are not making as much money as we could be making. And a lot of it is because of, yes, of climate change. And climate change is a serious problem, but that's why I mentioned this other company. Now, with kind of staying in the same vein, I have been bullish on a company for a while called Tourmaline. Now, Tourmaline is one of our bigger oil companies, and they are doing it again. Last year, they did a special dividend of, I believe it was roughly $2 a share last year, and they're doing it again. So right now, they are adding an additional $2 a share, and you're going to get that on February 1st. Now, the ex-dividend date for that is January 24th. So you need to basically, your name has to be on record on the opening at January 24th, which means you need to buy those shares before January 24th if you want that special dividend. So that is out there. But here's the beautiful thing. If you're under diversified in oil and you're thinking, okay, well, maybe Tourmaline is the one I'm interested in, do your due diligence, of course. But they're actually looking to do more than just this time around. They're actually talking about doing a special dividend over the next 3 quarters. So that's just kind of really cool. That's a lot. That's the way a lot of the oil companies have been going. They've been looking at giving that money back. So keep in mind, when I say at $2, we're talking that, this is in addition to their regular dividend. So keep that in mind. That's something that's really, really cool out there. Okay, what else we got going on here? Oh, Red Beer says, I hear that Alberta has some oil. Yes, absolutely. Germany going strong on coal and coal mining, giving issues with Russia. Yeah. And Russia right now, Russian oil on the open market is going for about $50 a barrel, just because of all of the issues that have been set up. Well, not just issues, the insurance stuff, because they put a cap on Russian oil. So they're not getting a lot of money for their oil. So other than they are selling it to some countries like China and India, and they're, not really paying attention to the cap on that. But any of their oil that is coming out into, Europe or such, it's capped at 50. It's not, I don't know. I don't think the cap is $50 a barrel, but that's currently what it's selling for. So that's not a bad thing. What's the oil company's name and tickers? Tourmaline. It's TOU.TO, of course, because it's on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So yeah, definitely one of those oil companies that is may not be a bad investment. Like right now, oil has come down quite a bit, but there's still a shortage. There's still an overall energy shortage. And a lot of the reason right now is that winter hasn't been super hard in Europe, not as hard as they had been anticipating. So that has saved a lot of on a lot of fuel from there, and it has lowered that demand quite a bit. But with China now reopened, eventually the U.S. has to refill their reserves, because their reserves are still pretty close to empty. So once the U.S. starts refilling those strategic reserves, and you think they would do it now when oil is pretty darn cheap. Although I'll tell you, Friday was a good day for oil, because oil is got really close to $80 a barrel again. So it's certainly going up, depending on the day. It might spend the rest of the week going back down. It's hard to say, but we'll have to see how that all turns out. All right, little story on mortgages. So Canada's banking regulator, they're planning to make it more difficult for you to get a mortgage. Now, at first, this sounds like they're being kind of evil, but they're not. The reason they're doing this is they're trying to make it so that people aren't defaulting on mortgages, because a lot of people are grabbing mortgages that just can't afford it. And one of the things they do to try to prevent people from getting a mortgages who can't afford it is this thing called the stress test. So right now, what they're doing with the stress test is they're making it a little bit more difficulty. So the minimum value on the stress test is 5.25%. So what they're going to do is, going forward, you're going to have to prove that you can pay either 5.25% or 2% above the prime, whichever of those two numbers is higher. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So they're going to, you may have to prove that you've got, you have the income to support a higher mortgage, and that's not a bad thing. I know it seems like, oh my God, I can never get a mortgage now. It's just to make sure that you can actually pay for it. And that's kind of that neat little thing, because the last thing you want to do is get a mortgage and then end up defaulting on that mortgage. I mean, it creates a whole world of pain for you. All right. And now Vic is talking about Tangerine has some kind of a promo on for 5%. That's not a bad thing. And the promo is until May 31st. Not bad. Now, how long, though, do you get to keep that 5%? That's a question I always ask. It's one of those things, like, I know EQ Bank doesn't normally have promos, but I've been using EQ. And one of the things I do like is they have now come out with a card on EQ. So it's basically prepaid card. So you just put your money on it. You do get some cash back on the card. I think it's only 0.5% though. So it's not a lot of cash back. But here's the beautiful thing. Any money you put on the card, you're still earning that 2.5% interest on it, even though it's on the card and not your bank. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. All right. Crypto Larvae says, ay caramba, mortgages will be tough for a lot of people for these next few years. Absolutely. But once again, you don't want to get in on a mortgage if you can't afford it. You really don't want to run into situations where things get a little bit out of control financially for you. And right now, until we know 100% when these rate hikes are going to stop, getting a mortgage right now is probably not the most ideal thing to do. Mr. Red Taco says, well, I remember credit lines. They'd have assets to liability percentage. It was how they determine of giving you credit. Yeah, there's a lot of people that will look at that. And here's the interesting thing too. A lot of these credit decisions aren't even being made by just people. They're actually being made by algorithms now. So it's not like the old days where you could go into the bank and you knew Mr. Jones at the bank and he was like, oh yeah, I know you're good for this. We'll push that loan through for you. It doesn't quite work that way anymore. It's now all algorithm. And if you just don't hit the right algorithm, doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to get that loan. You're not going to get that credit card or whatever credit related product that you're looking at. See, Vic also uses Achieva online credit union open to all 3.25%. See, that's not too bad. That's not too shabby at all. Now, is that 3.25%, Vic? Is that their regular amount? That's the thing I always want to know. I want to know if that's their permanent number. Well, as permanent as it can be. Or is that just a introductory? Because it's one of those things that I don't want to get involved in a bank and get a really nice introductory rate, and then all of a sudden, after your 4 months or however long the rate's for, you're down to, what are you going down to? Is it not a great number? So, just one of those things to keep in mind when it comes to mortgages. All right. Oh, so it is a regular savings rate. Okay, that's not too bad then. Not too shabby at all. And Mr. Red Taco was just asking the same thing that I was asking about that. Okay. Our next story, as I take a sip of water, is we had a CPI rating come out in the US this week. Normally, it's interesting. One of the interesting things about CPI is that there's always estimates of how much it's going to fall. And we usually come in either above or below the estimates. This time, and I can't remember the last time this has happened. I mean, I'm sure it's happened before, but we actually hit estimates dead on. So the CPI in the US came in at 6.5%, which is a fall of 0.1%. And that is exactly what was expected. The core CPI, so that's CPI without, of course, gas and groceries, it was up 0.3%, so it came in at 5.7, and that's exactly what was expected. So it's interesting. The market kind of didn't know what to do. Normally, it's like, should we be excited or should we be afraid? Well, the reality is, I think people eventually settled in because we're still in that green. We're still in that green start to the year, so that that's not a bad thing at all. And Vic says, "How amazing are analysts to predict 100% accuracy? Doesn't happen that often. It doesn't happen that often. Analysis was right for once. Mark that on the calendar. Yeah, exactly. Make a national holiday of it. So, what does this mean, of course, on February 1st for the federal rate hike down there in the US? Well, some people think that it might be a good sign that they may only go 25 basis points. But we still got some more data that has to come out before then. And what's really going to determine if it's going to be 25 or 50 is going to be jobs numbers. If jobs stay really hot, you're probably going to see a 50 basis point hike February 1st. Now, if the jobs start coming in weak, then you've got a chance of a 25 basis points. So we have to take a look. Let's see. Oh, we got Alan coming to the party a little bit late. Hey, Alan, great to see you. And Vic wants to know, oh, Canada rate hike is January. It's 25th. It's January 25th. So that's coming up pretty soon too. We'll have to see how that's going to be. I'm thinking of 25 for that one, but we'll have to see. There's a whole week of stuff that can happen between now and then. So we'll have to see how that goes. Next weekend at this time, we'll be talking about that rate, and I think we'll have a good idea what's going to happen. But right now, early, I'm thinking a 25 for us, and I'm actually leaning towards a 50 for the U.S. But well, once again, we need some jobs numbers before we can kind of nail down what's going to happen with the U.S. Okay. So that was the CPI. Well, I'm glad that Crypto Larvae is here because we actually have a crypto story as well that we want to talk a little bit about. So up here in Canada, two exchanges are looking at doing a merger. So we're looking at CoinSquare and WonderFi. And WonderFi, of course, is that one that's owned by Kevin. Well, I think he's a partial owner, Kevin O'Leary. So they're actually looking to merge. And if they do merge, what's going to happen is you're going to have the merged version will be Canada's largest crypto exchange. We're talking more than 1.15 million users. So that could be very interesting. And then what's really interesting too is Crypto Square does have a little bit of regulation going on with it. So they are registered, which is really, really good. Now, other news in crypto this week, Bitcoin finally broke 19,000. It's been a long time. So we're talking US, 19,000 US. So, Bitcoin has done that, but that's not what's amazing. What's amazing is there's this thing called the volatility index. The volatility index, it basically will give you a percentage of volatility based over the last 30 days. Bitcoin, back in March of 2020, so back at the beginning of the pandemic, Bitcoin had a volatility index of 9.68%. And that makes sense because Bitcoin has been very, very volatile. Guess what? That volatility index right now on Bitcoin is 1%. That's like a holy banana bread. That's not super volatile. So Bitcoin's been doing really well with volatility. Now it's hard to say with crypto, is Bitcoin stabilized permanently, or is this just kind of a little lull in the whole volatility life of Bitcoin. So interesting to see, interesting to watch. I like what Bitcoin is doing right now. So we'll have to sort of see how Bitcoin goes. See if Bitcoin can manage. Maybe by this time next week, if Bitcoin hits 20,000, then we can be a little more excited. I still don't think we're going to be going anywhere even remotely close to any all-time highs because we just don't have the money in the market for that. But it's kind of neat to see that going on with crypto. It's very rare. I can't remember the last time I've had a kind of positive crypto news, and it looks like this is positive crypto news week. So let's see if that can continue. See if it can push into next week. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. And what's the volume? I don't know what the volume is. Whoops, what's the volume in trading though? That I don't know. I don't have that right now. Vic says that his ex would score very high on the volatility index. That's interesting. Buy all the BTC. Well, I wouldn't buy all of it, but do you have any new info on the FTX collapse? That's a good question. The last I heard, really, I don't think I haven't really heard that much. I know that he said he wasn't. I know that. Yeah, I know he said he wasn't intentionally trying to defraud people or buy assets and things like that. But well, I'll look into. You know what? I'll look into FTX a bit this week and see if I can find some really juicy stuff on that. Maybe bring that up next week. Do you know anything in regards to Neptune Digital Assets? Good old Neptune Digital Assets. I know a lot of people in the community have been very bullish on them. I have bought into them, but I've more or less played them. Like I usually buy in when I see a big giant pump coming in crypto, and then I flip them for that reason. Now I know there's a lot of people in the community that are very bullish on them. I think one of the big reasons is that they don't have a lot of debt, which is good, but it's just one of these companies. I say be wary on things that are connected to crypto. And even though we are seeing some positive news, I would still be just a little bit wary. Always watch things. And oh, here we go. Here's somebody who does have some information. So Cisco 99 says that the stock was halted because of failure to submit them some documents. Holy banana bread. So yeah, that's why I'm saying be wary of anything crypto related right now. Even though we've got a few pieces of good crypto news in the news, there's still overwhelmingly a lot of bad stuff happening, and we're still kind of shaking things out from everything from all of the collapse of different exchanges. So take crypto with a grain of salt is what I'm saying. If you're a long-term investor and it's a coin you believe in, you're probably fine. But short-term, I don't think we've shaken out all of the issues yet, but hopefully soon. All right. And Sandy is here holding cash and waiting for a dip. I think after the first quarter. Yeah, I still don't believe the bottom is in yet for the bear market. I've been predicting that the bottom's probably going to come in the spring. So you could be onto something there, Sandy. Hopefully, let's see. SVOL. Has Elon bought anything this week? Elon has been very quiet. I think, and this is what I'm thinking. I think Elon I think the whole Twitter thing kind of sort of shook him a little bit. Everything from getting food and everything else. I think Elon's trying to sort of sit back and be a little bit less Elon, if you get my drift with that. So it'll be really, really interesting. And Crypto Larvae saying apparently some suspension with Neptune right now. See, I hadn't heard about that suspension, but it doesn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me right now in the world of crypto, and I don't want to come off like the biggest crypto bear in the world. But I'm just saying, I'm being like a crypto jackal. In other words, be careful, be sly like a fox when it comes to crypto, because you don't want to I don't want to see any of you guys lose money if you don't have to. Do you think regulations are coming? I think regulations have to come. And that's kind of one of the big things. The problem with crypto right now is that we had so much money pumped into the market, and that was a lot of pandemic money. So a lot of the supports were put, people who all of a sudden had all kinds of money who didn't have it before and got into the stock market and crypto. They poured a lot of money into Bitcoin, and a lot of that was lost when Bitcoin crashed, of course. But that's the thing. We don't have that money, and that money's not coming back that way. So we do need a big influx of money. With regulation, what that's going to do is all of a sudden you've got these pension funds, and there's oodles of pension funds just in the US alone. There's an insane amount of money. If every pension fund were to say, okay, crypto's now regulated, it's safe, we'll maybe move a 2.5 or 5% allocation into crypto. When that happens, you're going to see a lot of money pumped into crypto. That's when you're going to start to see some prices. If we get to an new all-time high, it'll be after regulation. It won't be before. So that's kind of that thing. Now, with that being said, knowing that that regulation is coming, if you were to invest into crypto now, like, buy like a, maybe buy some Bitcoin and just throw it on a hardware wallet, and I don't want to say forget about it, because you don't want to forget about it. That you have a chance to make some money long term. Short term, you're not going to make much. And crypto still may go down even further depending on if this shakeout with crypto is finished or not. If it's not, you could see, and I have said this, you could see Bitcoin fall all the way down to 10,000. Now, if it does that, it's not going to be there long. It's going to be more or less, it might even be one of these situations where it wicks down there. But, I know that I've heard some people say, oh my God, if it ever gets down to 10,000, I'm buying like crazy. That may not be a bad thing to do. But still, like I say, right now, until we got that regulation, just be careful with crypto. Make sure you're buying things that you're willing to hold for a long time, because you may need to hold them for a long time to make a half decent profit on some of the stuff. And Ciso says, this NDA was a Ryan darling in the stock market. Yeah, it was. Now, you got to also remember that Ryan was sponsored by them too. So, there's probably a little bit of bias because of that. But they did do, they looked like they were going to do well. But that's a problem, is that when you get into situations where prolonged badness when it comes to like crypto and the whole collapse of crypto, some of these companies will be shaken out. I would never have guessed that that Neptune Digital Assets would be one that would be shaken out. But it's also one of those companies that I had one use for them, and that was just using them as a proxy to play some of the movement, some of the volatility of crypto. And that's what I used them for personally. All right. Now, Crypto Larvae says, I heard Elon is looking into sodium ion batteries to replace the lithium ion batteries in Tesla EVs. It's drugged me into a rabbit hole to find out the publicly traded companies of that type of production. That's interesting. I have not heard that yet, but if that's true, then sodium may be something to look at. Any of the natural resources, like I'm really bullish on natural resources this year. Everything from copper, lithium, even gold. Like gold has been doing really well. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And I love what Crypto Larvae just said. If you're into crypto, DCA, don't dive in. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's too bad because NDA probably would have doubled in the last week. Hut 8 was up 100%. Yeah, absolutely. All right. And Vic buys MicroStrategy for crypto. So yeah, MicroStrategy is kind of like a de facto crypto ETF in the US, if you think about it. Well, they're not technically an ETF, but they're kind of a de facto for crypto because they have so much of it on their balance sheets. And of course, Michael Saylor is pretty much, if you ever go to his crypto feed, his Twitter feed, I guess it's kind of a crypto feed. It's Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that. It's really interesting. Last year when I did my interview with Frankie McDonald, I put on the beginning of the interview just this little thing where he goes, Bitcoin, of course he says it in the Frankie McDonald kind of way. This morning, Michael Saylor actually found that video, not my video, but the video of Frankie saying Bitcoin, and he put it up on Twitter. So I thought that was kind of funny. Let's see. Would you play a gold royalty company as compared to the stock? I do love royalty companies. I'm also a big fan of some of the gold ETFs. So there are some ETFs that I will certainly play that around gold. Now, some of the individual companies, not as bullish on, but like Barrick Gold, for example, But I think when you start looking at the ETFs, it kind of gets rid of that whole putting all your eggs in one basket with gold. So to me, I love the ETFs and royalty. Yeah, absolutely. I'll grab royalty stocks any time of the week just because they tend to have, they tend to be harder to shake when situations get worse, which is to me is fantastic. All right. All right. Our next story. Oh, you guys are great. I'm loving this. There's so much conversation. Um, I've got a chat GPT story. So interesting thing here is OpenAI, and that is the company that does Chat GPT. So they're looking for funding, and Microsoft is saying, "Well, we would kind of like to incorporate Chat GPT into, well, Bing." You guys remember Bing? It still exists. It's their search engine for Microsoft. So, and they're also saying that in addition to that, they're thinking the same type of AI would work really well in Word and Outlook. I mean, to me, that's like, how is that going to work? Are you going to ask it to write the letter, or are you going to write an email and then the AI is going to tell you what you did wrong? Acting like a coach, like, are you sure you want to use that word choice? I think that would be kind of funny. So Word and Outlook may get Chat GPT. It'll make it a little bit easier. You don't even have to go to the internet, copy and paste, and bring it back to your Word document. You could basically just say, okay, hello, Chat GPT, Word version. I need an essay on Malamute, Alaskan Malamute dogs. There you go. So it'll be kind of interesting. And Crypto Larvae saying, yeah, Chat GPT is amazing. It absolutely is. Oh, and well, there's a few things here I missed. Vic mentioned, yeah, Barrick, Anico, Franco, Nevada. They're decent, but I find with some of the ETFs, you can get some really good returns on them, at least growth wise. Let's see. Hey, would you say now would be a good time to consider getting shares in travel stocks like NCL or Carnival Corp? These cruise lines have taken a huge hit uh, since the start of the lockdowns, and that is, I think a lot of these travel stocks, I think we're at a point that they're may not going to be rebounding fast, but they are going to be rebounding. And when you're looking long term, they're probably not a bad thing. I know people who are looking to do cruises. Air Canada is actually their stock has come up quite a bit. They're up close to $21 now. Just think they were down around 17, and that would have been a perfect time to start stocking up on a little bit of it. So yeah, I would say it's worth looking at. It's worth keeping your eyes on it really, really well. Let me see here. Ooh, Vic stumped GPT. I asked it why Candace is awesome. You know what? That's an answer that is just so complex that I don't think an AI is ready to answer it yet. Bing, really? Anyone still have an Excite email address? It said banana bread. There we go. There we go. I will take the banana bread. And Jay is in the house. Hello, Jay. Welcome. Gotta love Jay. All right. We have Diane Diao. Thank you for taking the time to do these live streams. Can we do a special shout out to my husband, Alvin, who watches your live streams every week? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who you are, Alvin, but if you're watching my live stream every week, Alvin, you are awesome. Your wife, Diane, has said so, and I believe Diane because, hey, Alvin, introduce yourself in chat. I would love to see you in here. So you're fantastic. And I love the support. Thank you so much, Alvin. We'll move over here to Jill. Chat GPT is okay, not great, but I can't wait until the upgraded version to it, or Lambda. Lambda, of course, is the Google version that they're working on. Scott says, Air Canada been doing well lately. Absolutely. And of course, glad to see you here, Scott. Scott is he's kind of like he's like a partner channel in a way. We've been kind of growing at around the same speed over there at Create, Save, Invest. Now he does live streams every single Monday to Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern. So check them out. Scott does a lot, and he's a great supporter of the channel, and I like to support people back. So there we go, Mr. Scott. And plus, he has this little music intro at the bottom. If you guys go over, let me know if it sounds like a 70s cop procedural show. I think it does. So let's take a look here. Oh, I fired my family doctor and used ChatGPT. Don't know if that's wise. I don't think ChatGPT can subscribe anything or prescribe anything. Mr. Red Taco, Air Canada is making money since they are returning all that lost luggage. Awesome. And AC Dats says, I've been watching Canada Jet Lines lately. I do want to actually, I really want to it's going to be, I think, one of my deep dive battles is I'm going to start looking at some of the air things that we have, because I think that there's some really interesting stuff there. And, there's a lot of different, I think there's some potential in there. Anyway, I'm mulling that over. So those of you who are fans of all the different airlines in Canada, that could be interesting. Vic says, Scott KEH giving very low quotes on my gear, but that's technology. And Diane says, Alvin is shy. Well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being a lurker. So if Alvin ever wants to just say hi, that's awesome. If not, he's at least got the lovely Diane to say hi for him. That's fantastic. Awesome. And what is this? Oh, I buy 1X for WestJet exposure. There we go. Yeah, because WestJet is not entirely public, but I think we could have fun. I think we could have some fun with the airlines. All right. I think I still have, holy banana bread, it's like 51 minutes, and I do have one more story left. It's not a big one. Actually, I've got two stories. My mistake. So CRA, so the Canadian Revenue Agency, they're planning a strike. And here's the thing. They've got 35,000 employees, and they could be going on strike as early as April 7th, just in time for tax season. Unfortunately, if they're on strike, I still think you have to pay your taxes on time, but that could be a little bit of a problem when it comes to if you're expecting a return. There could be delays, but hopefully the government doesn't let this happen, because that, I think, would be that could just be a little bit on the bad side. And our final story is National Bank. National Bank has downgraded their outlook on Bell, on BCE. And basically, they used to have it, they kind of do it by, it used to be outperform. They've moved it now to perform, and they've also lowered that 12-month price target they're looking at. So they're saying that BCE, they thought they were going to hit $63 within 12 months, but now they've lowered that down to $60. So a little bit less. Interestingly enough, if you guys saw my battle, Bell actually came in last. It was Rogers, TELUS, then Bell. So I guess the National Bank could have just asked me, and I could have told them, downgrade Bell. They came in last. So say it isn't so, not Bell. Guys, hit the like button. Yes, absolutely. And strike just in time for tax deadline. Absolutely. And I hold some MESA stock. Nice. All right. Now, you guys missed a video yesterday. Well, not all of you. Some of you guys, some of you guys saw it. We had our membership, our channel member video yesterday. It was my 5 favorite stocks. So that went out. Any of you guys who are interested in seeing that, just grab one of them channel memberships and check that out. What comes with a channel membership? I hate plugging stuff, but we'll plug it anyway. What comes with a channel membership? I do a video every month specifically for channel members. They can ask whatever they want me to do. I'm going to do it. They also get to find out absolutely everything I do when it comes to my Wealth Simple account. So every dividend that comes in, every reinvestment, every buy, sell, shuffle, you name it, they see everything. You guys still will get that quarterly TFSA, what's in my TFSA video, because, if you're not a channel member. Oh, and they also want, the channel members have asked me for a monthly dividend, just a summary. So I send that out at the end of each month as well for them. So that's just what the channel member folks get. Probably somewheres down the road, we'll probably look at even doing maybe throw in an occasional live stream for the channel members so that they can get in there and really, really hit me up with the questions. So, yes, you can ask whatever you want. Shut the front door. Yeah. So that's what the channel membership does, and it supports the channel. So, that is a win-win. All right. So, let me tell you what I got coming up this week. So tomorrow's video, I've actually looked at, I know you guys love the high dividend stock. So it is one of the list videos. And these are some crazy high dividend stocks that also have really high return on equity. So if you don't know what return on equity is, you want to at least tune in and catch that. But basically, in a nutshell, if a stock has a high return on equity, it means that that company is really efficient with their money. And that is awesome, because if you've got a high dividend and you've got a high return on equity, it means the chances of that dividend being sustainable is very high. So these are high dividends that are probably insanely sustainable because they've also got high return on equity measurements. So that's coming up tomorrow. Battle coming up, of course, on Thursday. And I believe it was a request. Shopify versus Open Text, I believe it is. So Shopify and Open Text, that will be on Thursday. This is and on Friday, we may have that video from Jill if she has that already. So that's going to be kind of cool, I think, and pretty neat. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I, of course, also, and you guys saw Tim Dancher in here tonight. They changed the time on the Tim Dancher, on the Dancher Banter, which I'm a part of on Wednesday nights. So it's now 7 p.m. Eastern. So you want to show up an hour earlier than before. And it's worth it just to jump in over there. If you guys have never met Tim Dancher, so he used to be the one of the driving instructors on Canada's Worst Driver. So funny guy, a lot of personality. Him and his wife have a channel. I am regular on there every Wednesday night. So, check them out. Jump over, maybe throw them up a sub, because they're trying to get to 1,000. And, I'd like to see them get there sooner than later. But yeah, so anyway, that's what the week is going to look like. We'll be back here again next week for another This Week. And that'll be kind of cool. I really enjoy doing these because, you guys are fantastic. And that's kind of the neat thing. So if you guys got any, we're kind of heading towards the end. If you guys got any kind of questions at all, throw them in there right now. I'm going to have a quick little sip of water. And now once Jill gets some videos out, I'll probably try to talk her into showing up on one of these as well. And what Vic had mentioned earlier too, I just want to address that one more time. If any of you want to do a quick little cameo on This Week, absolutely, let me know. A couple of different options, because I've been thinking about this, that if you have a news story that you are absolutely, totally into, excuse me, my throat's getting all froggy, and you're like, oh, I'd really love to present this on your show, even if you don't want to come on live and you make a little video sort of like what Jill did, I can work with it. So it's up to you guys. No pressure. Like I can do this completely by myself. It's kind of one of those things. Like when I first started the live stream, I had Saturday night live stream, and I used to always have a guest every week. And, and then I just decided, I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to just do this by myself and get it a little bit more into the news, and we'll see what happens. So that's kind of interesting. Now, let's see. Vic has Last little topic here. U.S. debt ceiling vote. Yes. It's interesting with the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling, they always come through at the end, but right now we're in a situation where the where the Democrats kind of want to stall it up a bit. But the reality is, no matter how, and this happens every time, we normally do get the ceiling raised just at the last minute. Um, and if a situation that we don't, if that were, if we were to not, and they have to shut down the government because that's kind of what they do in the States. So any federal employees won't get their paychecks and all of this. It's a big disaster when it happens. Now Vic was saying S&P dropped 7% in one day when a crisis hit back in 2011. Yeah, no doubt at all. And it's one of these situations where there's not much you can do about it. You kind of don't want this to happen because if it does, we are looking at a very red day on the stock market, maybe a red week. I don't think it would go long if we get into a crisis, but holy banana bread. Let's hope they resolve this. And yeah, I mean, the US debt is crazy, so it is bigger than their GDP. No doubt about it. They need to, I mean, obviously they need to address their debt, but at this point you can't get to a situation where you let the government shut down over this. You're going to have to address the debt besides not creating a crisis, not creating something like this. You just want to do it later. You know, raise the debt ceiling, then work. Well, the problem is right now we've got between, yeah, when you have a mismatched, so where you've got Republican control of the House and then you've got a Democrat president, it makes it a lot harder to get stuff done down there. But it's one of these situations that I would really love to see more bipartisan type stuff occur. And I think this is a situation that the debt, I think, is a situation where they should be looking at bipartisan solutions, but they just won't do it. They're just so segregated that way. We're kind of starting to get that way a little bit in Canada now. Like if you watch any Canadian politics, it's like no matter what question the opposition asks the government, they all have the same answer, and it's not the question to the question; it's about something else. This goes both directions. I don't want to sort of say that this is just the liberals that do this. You know, in 2025, I believe the conservatives will get back in. You'll see probably the exact same thing happening. Heck, even in the last election, our old conservative leader, he was answering the same type of canned questions and not addressing the actual questions. I would love to see politicians who come along and say, here's the actual answer to the question you answered. When did we move away from that? That's kind of the situation that I look at. And yeah, you're basically saying we basically have conservative and libs just like the US. It's kind of turning that way. And if I were a senior, I'd go mostly cash and take 5% GIC or like. Okay, well, at least I have a feeling things are going to look a little bit better once I think we sort of get further away from the pandemic. So Scott says there's actually politicians that answer questions. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, man, that's a wonderful thing. Okay, everybody. I think we're coming up to the end here. If you got any last questions, throw them in very fast. Otherwise, if somebody has a nice, happy, goodbye to say to everybody, that would be fantastic as well. Because I always like to end the stream on a positive comment from one of you guys, because that's, to me, is kind of cool. Of course, I mean, if I don't get a positive comment, I'm not going to stay here to and we sit here the whole week waiting for a positive comment. It never happens. And of course, oh yeah, and that's for Scott's live stream tomorrow. I'll make sure that I pop in there, and I'm gonna get ChatGPT to write some horrible pun for Scott's channel because Scott loves the horrible puns. So I will bring one for you there tomorrow, Scott. That'll be kind of fun. Oh, there's no live tomorrow. Well, that's good to know. That's right. Scott said something about traveling this week. So, for all of you guys who I told to go to Scott's channel, go Tuesday instead of tomorrow. All right. Anyway, it has been fantastic. You guys have been awesome as normal. I look forward to seeing you guys again here next week. And Wednesday? Should be back Wednesday. That's right. He's visiting his mom. Oh dear. So yeah, for everybody who's going to go visit Scott's channel, head there Monday. All right. Oh, and here we got our comment. So we're going to end it on Crypto Larvae. Take care. I'll be here in some upcoming live streams. Awesome. We always like that. And a quick thank you and a quick thanks, Candace. Great stream. Awesome. Remember, on the way out, if you haven't hit that like button, just do that. And we'll see you guys again next week. Have a great week, everybody. And let's hope it stays green. I'd like to see if I can give you some more green numbers next week. All right. Take care, everybody.